Homebuyers in Metro Vancouver's real estate market continue to remain hesitant in the month of May. This has resulted in inventory levels accumulating and the market continuing to shift in favor of buyers. In the month of May, inventory levels reached another 10-year high, while the pace of sales continuing to remain sluggish. So what exactly are we seeing in the market right now? I'm Adina with Adina YVR Vancouver Real Estate Group and Oakland Realty, here with your June 2025 market update. Let's jump right into the numbers and take a look at what's happening. In the month of May, we had just over 2,200 homes sold on the MLS in Metro Vancouver. This is an increase of 3% relative to April, but it's down 19% relative to this time last year, and it's almost 31% below the 10-year sales average for the month of May. Looking at this by property type, we see that for detached homes, we had 654 homes sold. This is a decrease of 23% relative to May of last year. For attached townhomes and duplexes, we had 469 sales. This is a decrease of 10% relative to last May. And for apartment condos, we had 1,087 homes sold on the MLS in the month of May. And this is a decrease of 19% relative to this time last year. Looking at this on a year-over-year trend, the number of sales we've had registered on the MLS so far this year is amongst the lowest we've seen in the last decade. And in fact, it mirrors the activity we saw in our market in 2019 and 2020. Now, in both of those years, we had a slow start to the year, and those numbers rebounded as we hit the second half of the year. Whether that is going to happen this year remains to be seen, so we'll have to keep a close eye on the stats. Looking at the supply side, we had just over 6,600 homes newly listed for sale on the MLS in the month of May. This is down about 3% relative to April, but it's up about 4% relative to this time last year, and it's up 9% relative to the 10-year sales average for the month of May. Although the pace of new listings coming onto the market has decreased relative to April, because sales have remained dampened, we have seen total inventory levels continue to accumulate. And at the end of May, we had just over 17,000 homes in total listed for sale on the MLS. This represents an increase of just over 5% relative to the month of April, and it's up 26% relative to this time last year, and it's up 46% relative to the 10-year sales average for the month of May. So simply put, buyers have a lot of selection right now. They have over 28% more listings to choose from than they did this time last year. And in fact, it's the most inventory we've seen on the market in over a decade. So this leads us to the big question we're getting from a lot of buyers is, how is this impacting prices and how steep of a discount can they get in this market? To understand this, we want to look at the sales to active listings ratio. If you've been watching our videos, you recall the sales to active listings ratio is key because it's the leading indicator showing us if prices are on their way up or down. And simply put, we're looking at the number of sales in a given month divided by the active listings left over at the end of that month. When this ratio is below 12% for a sustained period of time, that's when we're in buyer's market territory and we see downward pressure on prices. And when this ratio is above 20% for a sustained period of time, we're in seller's market territory, and that's when we see upward pressure on prices. Anything in between is considered balanced market territory, and that's typically when prices stabilize. For the month of May, our sales to active listings ratio was 13.5%. This is down about 0.5% relative to April, and it's down about 1.5% relative to what we were seeing in March and February. So it's continued to shift in favor of buyers, but it does remain in balanced market territory. And in this territory, we typically see prices stabilize. Looking at this by property type, for detached homes, the ratio was 10.2%, so still in buyer's market territory, but up slightly relative to April when it was 9.9%. For attached townhomes and duplexes, the ratio is 17.4%, which is almost unchanged relative to April, and it's remained in balanced market territory. And for condo apartments, the ratio is currently 14.7%, which again is balanced market territory, and it's down about 1% relative to April when it was at 15.7%. Taking a look at the HPI composite benchmark price for all property types, it's currently at $1,177,100. This is down about 0.5% relative to April, and it's down about 3% relative to May last year. Looking at this by property type, we see that the HPI benchmark price for detached homes in Metro Vancouver is currently $1,997,400. This represents a decrease of 1.2% relative to April, and it's a decrease of 3.2% relative to May last year. For attached townhomes and duplexes, the HPI benchmark price is $1,106,800. This represents a decrease of 0.4% relative to April, and it's down about 3.4% relative to May last year. For condo apartments, the HPI benchmark price is currently $757,300. This represents a decrease of 0.7% relative to April, and it's down 2.4% relative to May last year. So what does this mean for you if you're looking to buy or sell a home in Metro Vancouver right now? Well, for home sellers, the message is clear. There's more inventory on the market than we've had in over a decade. And while this is great news for buyers, it means that it's more competitive for sellers than it's ever been. And in order to sell in this market, you really need to be strategic about how you show your home and how you price it. We are seeing that homes that are well priced and show well are still selling quickly in many cases, whereas other homes are sitting on the market with no showing requests, no offers for weeks or sometimes even months. Right now, it's not the time to test the market out and just throw it up to see, what will happen. You really need to be intentional and strategic about how you're going to approach selling your home. For buyers, this market is great news. You finally have more selection to choose from. In fact, the most homes you've had on the market in over a decade. And you have the ability to be strategic, to choose the right home for you, and also to negotiate a great price. One of the biggest challenges we're actually seeing for buyers right now is that they're getting overwhelmed by the number of options. And it can be challenging to make a decision about which property is right and what a fair market value is in this market. So there's lots of opportunities right now for people wanting to get into the market, and it's also a great market for people who are looking to sell and move their way up in the market. For downsizers or investors looking to just get out of the market, it's not that great, but there is still opportunity out there. What's really important right now is to work with an agent who knows and understands the market and the neighborhood you're looking to buy or sell in. If you're considering making a move this year and want to discuss your options, whether it's buying or selling in this market, you could schedule a consultation with our team by clicking the link down below here on YouTube or by clicking the link in my bio on Instagram. And to stay up to date with what's happening in the market, be sure to hit subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Instagram at adina.yvr. That's it for now. Have a great rest of the month, and I can't wait to see you in July.